All right, guys, we are here, me and Andrew, and we are going to be discussing how you can build your brand with podcasting. So, if many of you have been following us weekly, we've been playing games, but just finding different non traditional ways of bringing personal development content to you. So just an easy way to incorporate some of these items in your business and just in your everyday routine so that you can move forward in where you want to go with your goals.
Absolutely. First thing I think we should touch on is determining your goal with a podcast and determining how you can fit that goal with your brand. So one thing that I want to introduce is your approach. Your approach to your brand is all about how other people are going to look at you. You want to make sure that you are marketing yourself, you are branding yourself in a way that correctly represents the goal of your business and who you want to be as a brand.
Okay. Now, so one of the things that you touch on is like what your goal is with the podcast. So, I've been on a lot of podcasts in the past. So does that mean that you only go on certain podcasts that deal with your business, or do you feel that you can go to any podcast? What's your position on that?
Well, I don't think you should go to any podcast because the same way that you are curating content for your brand, they're curating content for their brand as well. So when you go on someone else's podcast, they're going to want you to discuss and talk about specific topics that detail with their brand. And it's important that your goal for your brand matches up with the ideas that they want to discuss during that specific podcast. So I would say go on podcasts that deal with your brand or deal with specific aspects of your brand that you can branch off of in different ways, or that you have already talked about in different ways in your own brand.
Okay, so for somebody who is just out there, doesn't know anything about what that means, you're starting a new business, you are a photographer. So walk me through the process of, what type of podcast should I really be interested in as a photographer, for example?
One for example, you will want to get on a podcast that deals with angles. Angles while in photography. Another one could be marketing yourself as a photographer. Another one could be finding models or finding clients as a photographer. You wouldn't want to do something that deals with video production. Even though it deals with the camera aspect, it's not with photography. You might not want to do something with, per se, as editing in Photoshop or editing with other software, because you may not be doing that much in-depth editing as a photographer. You don't want to deal with things that will build you up as a photographer or build clientele with you, not necessarily the after effects side of being a photographer. You want to deal with things that's going to help you build your brand.
That really is a good point, because one of the problems that I could see that you can run into, just as you said, if you're doing some of these other areas that are not actually what your particular expertise is, you're going to get these people contacting you that are looking for that particular style of work, and then it's discouraging.
Right.
Because you may get a big following, but it's all people that you really can't service.
Right, and you don't want to open the door to anyone and then not have anything behind that door for them, because then they're not gonna look at you as any value, because the information that you have already created, there's nothing for them. So you don't want to really. That goes with attracting the right audience. You want to make sure that when you get on other podcasts, that their audience is at least similar to your audience, so that you can create a bigger following with what you say and how you interact in that specific podcast.
Okay. Now, so just a little bit about you with, we had talked before about it being out of your comfort zone to do a podcast.
Right.
But you just did one. So somebody who is thinking, okay, I'm on the fence, I don't know, I might want to do a podcast. What kind of advice would you give them, in terms of taking that leap and going forward and coming out of your comfort zone?
Well, if you were to look at the numbers of the active users on every app or every social media network, you'll see that not being active on a specific outlet, you're losing a lot of following. So getting on the podcast, there are people that only listen to podcasts. So imagine the people that may not be on Instagram, may not be on Facebook, may not be on Twitter. With podcasts, with using your voice as a way to create content, you can reach a completely new, different audience that will strictly come to you for that specific content.
Okay, so that is really a very good point. You guys have to excuse the little background noise. I do have 15 kids, and so they just got home from school, so it's a little crazy. But this is what my life is like. So you got to be able to take those pockets of time and work around them anyway.
Right.
But that's a little sidebar. Sorry about that. Okay, so once you get this podcast, what do you recommend somebody do in order to monetize a podcast, or even just use it so that it makes your brand bigger or increases your audience? How do you do that once you get the podcast done?
So one key word I want to give to you all is value. Why do people buy things? It has value. They can use it. Why do people listen to certain music? They find value in it. So when you have value in your content, the monetization comes around, the following comes around when you have value. Anybody will want to partake in what you have as long as it has value. So make sure that whenever you're creating content, whenever you're on a podcast, whatever you're talking about has value, so that the listeners want something of what you have or want more of what you have.
Okay, great point. A great point. So for hey, this is some family members coming in while we're doing this.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. But so you brought up some good points about that whole thing with the podcast. Now, last question. So if I say that I want to do a podcast, how do I find out about them? What do you recommend? Because if I, just want to be a guest, I don't necessarily want to take that step of actually starting my own podcast. What's the step to get me on podcasts? What do I do?
Well, there are many apps that have podcasts on them. You definitely want to listen to other people's podcasts, see what you like, see what the topics that you like, see the different people that do podcasts to see which is best for you. If you listen to a whole bunch of different podcasts, you see that everyone is formatted differently. Some people have a team. Some people are just talking into the mic for long periods of time. So I say definitely experimenting and listening to other podcasts to see what's best for you.
Okay. All right. Now, so what is the best way to kind of approach somebody? So let's say that you find somebody that you feel resonates with you. They have the audience that you're interested in. What are some key ways to kind of leverage yourself to be able to get on the podcast as a guest? What would you recommend?
Well, first, I would recommend that you listen to some of the podcasts that they already have out. You want to think to yourself, can I add value to what they already have? Is there content based on what I'm already doing? So being able to see that, finding someone in your industry and finding how you can add value to their industry or what they're talking about is a good way to put your foot in the door in the podcast.
Sounds good. Okay. Well, so there you guys have it. We're talking about how you can brand yourself and help yourself to move forward in your business through podcasting. So this is an easy way for you to be able to interact with people. You could be able to give away free content for people to be able to see the value that you bring to the industry, and it doesn't really have any costs. I mean,
right.
Yeah. So just a great opportunity for you really to be featured, with free advertising and being able to move your business forward.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to add?
I just want piggybacking off of the free aspect. Anchor is free. There's many apps on the I know the Apple Store where there's free podcasts where you can record right then and upload them to Apple, to Spotify, and other different outlets. And even recording on the voice memos on your phone and uploading them. That's really what a podcast is anyways. It's just an audio message that has content in it. So definitely experimenting with different apps, finding what you're comfortable in, and recording yourself. And just putting it out there is a good way to make podcasts and put out that content.
That's awesome. Now, so where do you see podcasts going? I know there seems like every time you turn around, somebody has one. So do you
Right.
think it's kind of oversaturated? What's your feeling on that?
Well, I mean, in that case, then every industry is oversaturated. Every industry has thousands of people who do the same thing. As I was talking about earlier, it's value. People have to see what's special about you. What are you doing that someone else isn't doing? Or what are you talking about that someone else isn't talking about? Having value and having a unique aspect to your podcast is a good way to stand out in any industry.
That's good. So, you bring up a good point about standing out. What is one tip that you could give somebody to show them that they can stand out? Something different that they might be able to do to kind of engage their audience as opposed to somebody else?
Well, one thing I would say is to have multiple avenues that you put out content. So let's say you're in the personal development niche. You want to do blogs. You want to do podcasts. You want to do books. You want to hit different outlets. I feel like when you have when you take one topic and spread it out over many areas, it helps other people look at you in a better light because they know they can go to you for multiple. They know you're you have expertise in that specific niche. They know that you know what you're talking about. So I feel like definitely repurposing your content multiple times is a good way to let other people know that you know what you're talking about. You're expert in your field and you're unique in what you say.
Okay. All right. And just from a media publisher, which is, what you would kind of say for yourself, what is a great call to action that somebody could have for a podcast? Because, a lot of times we're talking about reverse engineering something, so if you see somebody who's successful, you want to be able to incorporate that in your business. So, of course, the bottom line is to produce more sales or more clients and everything through this particular vehicle. So what would you recommend somebody to do to make a call of action through a podcast? How would they do that?
Just encourage your listeners to follow up with you in any type of way. They can follow up with you to entering their email into a mailing list, liking your page on Facebook, following you on social media, DMing you on Instagram. Give them a way to contact you. Form a direct line of contact, whether it's through mailing list, a DM, liking your page on the media. You want to direct them to another form of media that you're on, that you're constantly on, so they know that they are developing a relationship with you.
That's good. Yeah, I know for me, myself, one of the things that kind of helped me with just being able to be more vocal was I have people that are on LinkedIn, and so I use a voice message component of my messages. So instead of typing out a text all the time, sometimes I do an audio message via LinkedIn. So there's all different kinds of ways that you can kind of incorporate being more showing different parts of your personality, be it verbally or through infographics, writing, different things like that. So that's a good point to bring up. Okay. All right. Well, that's all we have for today. We want to thank you guys for tuning in, and please feel free to leave us some comments, questions, because we really want to be able to provide value and really help people level up and, not just acquire information and let it sit there, because you will feel better about yourself if you implement some of these strategies and you try them out and you find out they work.
Absolutely.
Definitely send us a video or a text message or write us and let us know so that we can definitely share your story, because that is another way for you to get some exposure for your business.
Right. You want to always put action between the things that you hear and the things that you want to do.
Right. Okay. So do you want to leave a way for them to get a hold of you? I know for me, I'm on this Anchor thing, but you go ahead and...
if you do it on Facebook, so you can do facebook.com/OAWCE. That'll take you to my page. You can like my page and check out my content.
Okay. All right. Well, we want to thank you guys for joining in.
Thank you so much.
All right. You have a good one.